On the next episode of the Level Par Podcast, we speak with Christo Garcia. Christo is a golf coach in the Dallas area, a social media personality, an author, and a screenwriter. Christo and I spoke all things about golf and writing, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Christo, amazing to do this in person. I mean, we had talked online, on Instagram. I just sent you a DM, and you were like, oh, I'm also an author. And it was just one of those things where, I don't know, kindred spirits, right? Like, we just kind of connected on so many different levels between writing and the game of golf. First off, like, tell me a little bit about how you got into writing, because I feel like it's a passion of yours just as much as golf is too.
Yeah, so I always enjoyed writing in school, and I remember I was in AP English class in high school, and my teacher was like, "You actually have a talent for this." And so I went to college on a biology scholarship, and then I won the Florida Open Karate Championship.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then I was invited to be in a movie, and I'd always wanted to be in movies. I wanted to be the next Bruce Lee. So after that movie, I decided to change from biology to theater. So when I got into the theater program, they had playwriting classes and a student theater production board where you could write your own plays. And so I started writing my own plays. And it was just a passion immediately when I started to tell stories. And then I wound up in Los Angeles working as a story producer after I wrote my first movie. And I actually wrote a play my senior year of college that I produced, and then I adapted it into a screenplay. And the next thing I know, I was at Universal Studios making a 35 millimeter feature film.
It's crazy where how just life goes places.
Yeah, it was the biggest movie filmed in Orlando that year with a British Academy Award winner as my co-star. And so when I went to Los Angeles, I found work as a story producer on reality shows because they shoot tons and tons of footage, but somebody has to pare it down into a story. And so when I was working for Buna Murray Productions that does The Real World, that's what they were famous for, they sent the writers team to a screenwriting, it's like a school, like a 3-day school with Robert McKee, who's the grandfather of screenwriting coaches in Los Angeles. In the year 2000, he had already had 17 of his students nominated for Best Screenplay.
Oh, get out of here.
Or maybe one Best Screenplay.
Really?
I'm talking about big time.
Yeah.
And he did something amazing for me. He taught me that a story is a good story regardless of the form that you put it in. So I could write a story and I could write it as a play, as a screenplay, or a novel. But the same mechanics of a good story are the same. And
the framework has to, it has to have
rising
complexity,
action, falling action, act, climaxes.
You have to have really good characters as well too. You gotta
good
have
dialogue.
compelling,
It's like all these things are consistent. But it's just a different format, whatever one you choose.
So your first book was Jack Dagger.
Yes.
It's a really cool look at, and it's a kind of like a golfer nerd, just like love, like it just really is like everything you could ever want to know about the game of golf, and like how from equipment to course management to all these different things. Like Jack Dagger is such a cool character too. I wrote a book and you've wrote a book. Like, what was the process for just starting that for you?
So this is my book, Jack Dagger, A Lynx Tale is the subtitle. And I wanted to write a story about golf for a long time. I've been, working in the space forever, and I'd written many screenplays. I've had 2 movies produced, and I was a story producer on a feature film for New Line Cinema. And one day, the pieces fell together. Like you have like an idea for a story that's over here, an idea for a story that's over here, but then they kind of all linked up into one picture in my mind, and I was like, okay, now I can actually approach writing this novel. And so another thing that I learned from McKee that was very important is he told me the fun part is writing the screenplay or the novel. The hard part is structuring it.
Yeah.
Like he said, you never start writing the movie or the novel until you know exactly where the story goes all the way through the ending.
Do you almost feel like you begin with the end in mind? We've heard a lot of writers kind of say that, like, I have an understanding that I want the story to end here, and now I'm just kind of going to work backwards. Is that kind of your process? Or
No,
is
my
that...
process is, it's close, but it's like you have to have the inciting incident.
Yeah.
That's what starts the
Sure.
hero's journey.
Yeah, sure.
And then the ending.
Yep.
You have to know how it's going to end.
Right.
And so for me, I build my act climaxes, and then I structure each act, and that's how I put it together.
I feel like I could nerd out about this just as much about golf too. Like that, so like to be able to combine those two for you must have been just like a really cool way to put this all together. I mean, obviously you have your Instagram page, you're a golf coach down in Dallas. To be able to like just put everything together in one golf book must have been like one of the most rewarding things you've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a golf sicko.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what's in that book is everything.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I looked at it. It's almost like 3 small books, you know, because the 3-act structure I chose was, you know, Jack has his meltdown when he gets hired to work on the U.S. Open, and he spends the first third of the book struggling in Long Beach.
What's next? Yeah.
And then he gets the opportunity to become a collegiate golf coach. It's just a pure twist, you know, that how does he wind up there? And then when that dream falls apart, you know, then he's in what we call the cave, you know, he's in the belly of the whale, like, you know, hits rock bottom. And then he runs into his high school swing coach, and then his real journey begins, and he's able to make it into the U.S.
It really
Open.
is just like a hero's journey to be like, there are so many different avenues you can go with the game, but also like in life. Once you see a struggle and you can kind of, you know, see your way out of it, but you have to like do the step by step to get out of it. And I think that's what's cool about the character that you develop, but also just your ability to tell a story like that. I think for you too, we've kind of chatted a couple times. And what about your backstory? Like, how did you get in the game of golf? How did you kind of get to a place where you're coaching? And then how did you get to a place where your Instagram page is become one of the more popular ones, you know, out there in the space of golf?
So I started playing golf at the age of 8. I was immediately hooked.
Yeah.
It was, you know, something I had a passion for. And my older brother and my older brother was my idol. He was a very good golfer. And we just basically imitated Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson. And I developed a pretty good game. I won a 3-day tournament. And then I shot under par as a freshman in high school. And my dad decided it was time to get serious, so he took me to a golf coach. And the golf coach coached me out of the classic swing that I had where I lifted my lead heel. And he taught me that he told me it made more sense to keep both feet planted throughout the swing and to have a work off more of a stable base. And I know that works for a lot of people, but for myself, I spent the next 25 years not trusting my swing.
If you're over your golf shot and you don't trust what you're doing, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's a really unsettling feeling, especially if you're as passionate about the game as I was. I shot many rounds over 100, even over 110. And when I actually quit the game at the age of 23 because I couldn't play it. And when I decided to come back to the game in my late 20s, my friend took me out to the golf course. He said, you got to putt everything out. And I shot 126.
Which is like, it's demoralizing, right? Like you could have walked off the course and never played
ashamed.
again.
You know, you want to blow your brains out. Like it's horrible. And so I plugged away like that for the next 13 or 14 years, just playing very bad golf. I worked at it though. I know how to, you know, I'm an athlete. I worked on it to where I could get into the 80s occasionally, mostly living in the 90s. And then one fine day, I was buying my 7th driver in 3 years, thinking that would fix my slice. And next to the cash register was Ben Hogan's 5 Lessons book. And I always loved the illustrations in that book, and I thought it was fascinating. And in that book, he says, anybody who follows these fundamentals should be able to break 80. And I hadn't done that since I was a teenager.
And you're grasping for answers at this point too, right?
Oh, I was as desperate as you can be.
Yeah.
And so for $12, I bought Ben Hogan's 5 Lessons book. I just got a flip video camera for Christmas. And I decided in the year 2010 that I was going to rebuild my golf swing. And so I started what I called my swing evolution.
Sure.
And I decided I would keep every scorecard, putt out every putt for the year 2010. I thought I was going to make a documentary about that journey.
Just a journey.
Which I did, I guess you could say.
Right.
And it took me 3 months to shoot my first 79.
Which is, how did you feel for that?
I had a 6-foot left to right downhill breaking putt to shoot 79. That thing went in the hole.
And was there any doubt in your mind that it was going to go in, or was it kind of like
more doubt than you can imagine? It was hit and hope.
Right. Yeah.
But it went in the, it was moving fast. I actually have it on film.
Oh. Well, I mean, but like, I feel for you right now. Like, I really do. Like, I totally am in your like spot right there.
Yeah.
There is just when you are trying to do something and like breaking 80 is hard. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard. Like, a lot of people.
You're a good player. Like, you have to play well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and if you're trying to make that leap, and you've also had the struggle of not trusting what your golf swing was doing for 13, 14 years. I mean,
even longer.
Yeah. But like, even like that shows your commitment to it, right? And like, that shows how much you gave a shit about it, right? And it truly is like, you have to have that to want to succeed in this game.
Yeah. So that first year, I dropped my handicap from 21 to 5.6.
That's an amazing drop.
I had a low round of 74.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably maybe 80% of golfers would take that.
Sure.
I mean, to be able to be a 5.6 or whatever.
No, just keep going though.
Yeah. And so in 2014, I finally broke par.
Yeah.
I shot 2 under, even par, and 2 under in a week. And it was.
And you kind of, is that when you were like, all right, I'm onto something. This is the next maturation of my golf game. Is how do I then translate that to other people? Is that when you kind of started coaching a little bit?
I didn't start coaching for several more years.
Sure.
But at least I was, in a way you could say I was coaching online, because I was teaching people what I was working on.
And they were watching your journey.
Yeah, but I had hit this wall where 74 was as low as I could go. And you start coming down the stretch, and you may have a shot at breaking par.
Yeah.
And on 15, 16, man, it was just the biggest mental hurdle you could imagine.
Right.
And finally I decided, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal and keep trying to make birdies. I kept trying to kind of like protect my score.
Right. Yeah.
Just the ball.
Did you feel like you were playing a little bit timid in those moments?
Yeah, I was scared out of my mind, you know?
So like the freedom that you had.
When I finally said, screw it, I'm just going to try and keep making birdies.
Sure. Yeah.
The first time I shot under par, I birdied 2 of the last 3 holes. So that was
you feel like
quite
you
a
earned
difference.
that thing. You earned that. I mean, what a amazing story. Like, it really is. Like, it's something that I hopefully can achieve someday and do someday. But I think when I look at your channel and I look at the way that you speak about the golf swing and the way that you kind of you simplified it in a lot of different ways, but your direction to get to there was anything but simple. Like, that you worked your ass off to get to a level where you could play that level of golf, and then as you kind of speak to people and you coach them, do you see their internal struggle as they're trying to figure out how to do the quest the way that you did?
Well, there's the challenge is there's I say 3 distinct challenges. The first challenge that I have to have with my students is I start with understanding the philosophy of what I'm doing with the club.
Sure.
Most people, they really don't even, they think they're hitting a ball with a stick, which maybe you could think about that, but it's the way I use the shaft. Like, you have to understand how to leverage the club and use the club so that it's doing most of the work.
Sure.
And most people I say that you can harness the forces in the swing or you can overpower them.
Yep.
So I have to educate my student first. Then there's the technical aspects of the swing, and that's where 95% of golf instruction is like, where are you moving the club?
Yep.
Where are your hands? What are you doing physically? And that's part of it. And I try and keep that as simple as possible because I don't think it needs to be as complicated as we see in general today. And then the third part is, how do you comport yourself? How do you handle yourself? What is your thought process? Are you playing with a lot of swing thoughts? It's very difficult to do that.
Yep.
So the third goal is to actually play instinctual golf.
Do you think the third piece to it is the one that is the lifelong journey? Like, you almost kind of like figure out your swing from the physical standpoint, but then it's like that piece of the mental game in that third piece. Is that the one that you just have to continue to work on, especially like as you get older? Maybe you lose a couple of yards here and there. You don't want to change the physical nature of your swing, but mentality is the thing that you have to continue to build on for the rest of your life.
I mean, that's the ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
I think that every person on the tour or the tour champions, they all have the ability, but it's really handling the mental battle that, your book is great at looking at, what's going through a player's mind.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think Sean Foley is interesting because I heard him talk about, I'm trying to get my players to be comfortable and to not be nervous,
Yep.
and he says that he wants them to have their life completely in order off the golf course. Like, if you're rattled because, say you have an addiction problem.
Sure.
Maybe you have, whatever it is, relationship problems. If you have, like, all those things can affect your ability to remain in the present moment on the golf course. So, it's just really getting your house in order, so that you can just be in the zone.
Yeah.
Do you know who Alan Watts is?
Yes. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this piece where I was watching Alan Watts break down the etymology of the word Zen in Japanese, and he said it comes from a Chinese word Zen, and he goes through it and he describes what this state of mind is, and literally. I'm listening to his definition. I'm like, he's describing the zone.
The zone, yeah.
So Zen is the zone. And the Japanese developed this to an art form, whether it's paper making, shooting a bow and arrow, swordsmanship, or martial arts.
Yeah.
It's the repetition where you can leave the conscious mind and exist in the subconscious mind in the zone.
Yeah.
And that's the goal that we're all that's what I'm still always trying to achieve, is, a harmonious swing that develops the results that I want, where I can stay in the present moment and actually participate in the divinity of the game.
Yeah. I was interviewing this young kid named he's 26, and he's trying to go through the pre-qualifiers for the PGA Tour, and trying to get in the Monday qualifiers and all that stuff. And he said you have to practice like you care, and then play like you don't. And I almost feel like that's a good way to kind of approach it, because like you do have to work so hard in the dirt that when you have that shot, you can go back to the memory bank and say, oh, I've done this a million times. I can just feel confident over it. I know what's going to happen. I know the lie. I know this. I know that. But you can't get there without putting the work in.
Right. So I talk to my students about having a confidence piggy bank. And I say, every good shot you hit, you're putting a quarter in that piggy bank. But every bad shot you hit, you're taking a withdrawal. And so I stress to them, you don't go to the driving range and reach for your driver. Start with easy, small shots where you can start putting quarters in that piggy bank.
Sure.
It gives you the opportunity to work on your wedge distances, which are a crucial part of the game.
Yep.
And you can, just work on that low point control, solid impact, good impact alignments. And you build every practice session by putting as much money in that confidence piggy bank as possible.
Right. So you can just, when the time comes, you make a withdrawal and you're good to go. Yeah. I mean, and that's I think that's kind of how like I wanted to structure Level Par, and you got a chance to read it. You know, you and I also connected on a lot of different ways because like Jake's story in the book is very similar to mine. Like struggle with like substances and you know, just never getting anything I wanted out of the game. I think you had mentioned that you kind of felt similar in your 20s. We both lived in the Tampa area. You grew up in the Tampa area. There's just a lot of parallels between our lives in a lot of way. And
yes.
It was super weird when we did have that initial conversation. I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm just talking to somebody that I used to hang out with.
I could have lived it
exactly
with you.
And
it's crazy.
And I think the like, did you have a certain point in your life, maybe like late 20s, when you started to? I think you had said you'd stopped drinking like several years ago. Like, what was the point in your life when you're like, I need to start making the changes? Kind of similar to like what you would say to somebody to like that Sean Foley would say to somebody to have your stuff together off the course. Like, when did you kind of make those changes to
well, that's been an evolution in and of itself. So I had some initial success in the TV and film industry.
Sure.
I was living in Los Angeles in my mid-20s, and then I got in a car accident and I wound up back in Tampa. And I was working as a bartender, restaurant manager, things like that. And you know, and Florida's a vacation capital, so it's a lot of entertaining, partying, etc. And when I turned 30, I decided, look, I have to change course if I really want to pursue my dreams. And so I just made the decision that I was going to move, and initially I moved to New York because I thought I might get into the theater scene. I had been a professional, theater performer also. But then I was in New York for 6 months, and my brothers rented a house in Los Angeles, and they said, "Hey, man, we've got a third room. You know, it'd be great if you could pick this up." And so I moved to Los Angeles. I worked one day as a bartender at a private party, and then I got a job in television, and that was the last drink I ever poured.
How long ago was that?
And that was 1999.
Wow.
And then, you know, but I still was a drinker, you know, up until this April will be 5 years I've been completely sober. And eventually I outgrew the need to kind of like dull my senses or escape anything like that. It was a strong move that I just don't need it in the way that I felt that I did when I was younger.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's definitely it's a changing evolution. I look at myself in my 20s and how much I was doing, and now like I'm 41, and it's just different, right? It's just different, and you have to.
A lot of people go through it, you know. But the question is, you know, can you get out of it?
Can you get out of it, or can you manage it to a point where it's not controlling your life? And then, and I think when I was trying to get into the game of golf, and even when I was in, you know, in high school, like I was already deep into it, 14, 15 years old. Like that was the road that I was taking, and I never really had an opportunity to see what I could do with this game. And I think it'll always be a what if, but I think I wouldn't have been able to tell the story the way that I did without going through the things that you do in your life. And I feel like you probably similar too, to be able to tap into your own path to write Jack Dagger, and then we'll talk about your next project kind of coming up, like to have that life experience, to be able to say, I can tap into this to write a story that's compelling, that would resonate with a lot of people. I think that, you know, we're kind of blessed in the way that we did have that journey as well too.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because in my book Jack Dagger, he's an alcoholic, and he doesn't realize he's an alcoholic. You know, it's not until he meets his girlfriend, you know, who wakes him up to the fact that he's, you know, abuses alcohol. And that's really the final piece that helps him to really get his act together, so he can play competitive golf again. And you know, I think that a lot of pro golfers, I've actually spoken with, you know, many well-known people who alcohol was really what held them back from playing their best golf. And it's heartbreaking when you hear a person reflect on that, you know, but I know that when I was suffering with the game of golf and playing, you know, just embarrassed and ashamed about the way I played, you know, you couldn't give me enough alcohol.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, for me, like I'm not 100% sober, but it's like the management I have of it is just so much better than what I did.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, if you're just having a couple drinks here and there,
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
problem is like, when you've got Irish handcuffs.
Oh,
you
I'm
know,
gonna say, yeah.
it's
I mean,
like-
I pick and choose my times when I want to do it, but I also like if I'm going to be around the game of golf, like I know personally, I just can't. I can't be of not sound mind to want to play the game that I want to play. And I hope that I continue that through the rest of my life. But let's get into Level Par because we connected, being two authors, being two golfers. But then I was like, would you mind reading this and let me know your take? We've talked off camera about like what your take is, but like what would your review of the book be as you got a chance to read it and resonate with it? I think it was like a month or so ago.
Yeah, so first of all, I loved Level Par. It's a great book. And when I picked it up, I had no idea what I was getting into. And one of the things that Robert McKee taught me is you want to have a page turner. And a page turner is something that leaves you wanting the desire to keep flipping it, so I can see where the story goes. And what I was shocked about was a very astute use of anti-structure. And most stories are told A, B, C, D. And that's the way we dream.
Sure.
That's the way we tell stories
Yep.
generally in our daily lives. But you use a broken time structure to give us the backstory on the main character, to lead us into this adventure that he's on, where he's trying to deal with the demons from his past. And I don't want to give away the ending, but it's quite a journey from the beginning to the end.
Well, I appreciate
it's also
that.
a muscular book. It's tightly written. It's not overly written.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think being
like
a journalist, being a journalist and being cramped for space for
Yeah.
the most part taught me to be like your words, like don't get flowery because it's
Yeah.
going to get cut at the end of the day. And you're not, whatever you write sometimes is going to get cut in the paper, and then you kind of see what was put in. It's like, okay, I could be more punctual and powerful with my words here and there. And I also didn't want to write a long piece or a long story because I feel like the world we're in today is like, it's how many people are looking at TikTok or like Instagram and they just don't have time to read the way that they used to. So like if I could create a quick novella, that was the story that I wanted to tell. But it means a lot coming from you, from a fellow writer, but also like somebody who's been around the game of golf. But when you were like reading Jake's story from a golfer's perspective, who's been in competitive rounds, and you talk about needing to make a 6-foot putt to break 80 for the first time, like could you relate to where he was as he was going through that little journey on the 18th hole?
Yeah, so Jake is very similar to Jack.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and when I read your story, I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of like. We get like minds here, Christo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I think that our journeys are similar.
Yeah.
And so those are the stories that we tell. And Jake, I think, who is he really dealing with? He's got father issues.
Yep.
Do you remember Jack? His last memory of his father before he lost him in the Gulf War was having an argument with him,
Yep.
and that was unresolved.
Yeah.
Which
can last forever and ever and ever. Too,
yeah,
right?
so that's another similar through line in both of our novels.
Yep.
And so I don't know what else to say except that, I think that your book is more economical, and mine's like 3 books.
Sure.
They could have been smaller books, but it's like I wanted to see him all the way through his journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people always ask me like, are you gonna write another one? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know if Jake Stedman's story is over or not. So like I don't want to also give away anything either. But there's just a lot there, and there's a lot to just enjoy the writing process. And so, I mean, as I think about what's next, but you've already started on what's next. Tell me a little bit about your next project that you are kind of putting out there to the world, because it's super cool to see you continue this road down, golfer/storyteller in so many different ways.
Well, as a golfer, I've always loved golf movies.
Yeah.
Of course. And as a filmmaker, if I was to look at the genre of golf movies, I would put very few of those movies in a must-watch category.
Sure. Yeah. I think you think like Tin Cup.
Yeah, if I ask people what are name golf movies, they're going to say Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore, Tin Cup, Greatest Game Ever Played.
Yep.
And then it starts
maybe
to get
Bagger Vance you throw in there,
Bagger Vance.
Yeah.
So those are the 5.
Right.
And then maybe there's, what about Dead Solid Perfect? What about Tommy's Honor? What about, you start to already drift off into...
And those get too niche in so many different ways. Like, the golf world might know them, but like in the grand scheme of the Hollywood, mainstream, those are your top 5, and I don't know if you really have anything outside of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, golf comedies have been the most successful, obviously.
Yep.
But I have yet to see a golf drama that I think is really thrilling and gripping, and I'm like, it just doesn't exist.
Yep.
So I've always wanted to write a movie based around Hustlers, and that's the name of my new novel. But the thing that's interesting is I wrote it as a screenplay first. I wrote the movie Hustlers.
Yep.
I say that it's The Color of Money meets Rounders on a golf course.
Cool. Nice.
And so it's based around lots of the old Trevino stories about hustlers on, Texas golf courses. And so the essential story is about a young phenom who washes out of collegiate golf, can't make it into the pros, and he's paying the bills by hustling people on South Texas golf courses. Well, he gets hustled by a real big-time hustler.
Yeah.
And his name, so the main character is Cowboy Cody Keller. His nickname is Cowboy because he was a rancher.
Sure.
And he gets hustled by Rex Ballard. And Rex Ballard sees something in the kid that reminds him of himself, and he decides to take him under his wing.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Now, it doesn't take long for Cody to learn the system that Rex uses to hustle people on the course, and decides he's good enough to go it alone, and he winds up in deep, deep trouble. His life is on the line, and people want to kill him.
Yep.
And so he goes back to Rex, and they devise a plan to make everything right.
I like this. I like it.
Yeah.
It's compelling. I think what I like about the character already is that there's probably a couple stories like this already out there. People probably have gone down this road of trying to, we know about gambling and golf and all those different things. There's just a lot of parallels in life too. And So where are you?
I'm doing the final rewrites right now for this is the novel version of Hustlers. And I wrote the part of Rex Ballard specifically for Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, cool.
In my
do you have a person in mind when you're
I
writing?
can hear his voice,
Yeah.
and he's actually a really good golfer.
Yeah, he is.
He's the biggest problem with golf movies is casting people that can't actually play the game of golf.
Yeah, you see him swing and you're like, ooh.
Yeah. So I wrote Hustlers with Matthew McConaughey in mind.
Yep.
And it made it easier for me to find the voice of the character and the dialogue and all of that. And so, so that's very, very important to me. But the thing that's great is I feel that I've written a twist into the end of the story that nobody's going to see coming.
I like it.
In fact, when my brother read it, he was surprised.
Good.
He's like, I had no idea it was going to end like that.
I love that. But I love the fact that you put yourself out there like that too. It's amazing. It's very hard to just be like, I wrote something and I did it, right? And then put it out there and just kind of go. So it is very inspiring to see you continue on this journey. I'm very happy that we had a chance to meet in person and not do this over Zoom. So I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, and this has been great.
Thank you. I appreciate it,
awesome.
Tom.
Thanks.